The silence in my house on my 37th birthday was louder than a gunshot. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the single coffee mug in front of me, watching steam curl up like smoke signals nobody would ever read. My wife Cara had left for work 3 hours ago without so much as a good morning, let alone happy birthday. Guess I'm celebrating alone again, I muttered to the empty room, my voice echoing off the cheap laminate cabinets we'd installed 2 years ago when money was tighter than a noose. My phone buzzed. Cara's mother, Linda, her voice sharp as broken glass. "Nick, where's my daughter?" She was supposed to call me about dinner plans tonight. "Ask Cara where I am," I replied, stirring my coffee with deliberate slowness. She probably knows, since she's always tracking my phone. Don't be smart with me, Nicholas. You know today is important for our family. Important. Right. The only thing important to Linda Wallace was making sure everyone knew she'd raised a daughter too good for a grease monkey mechanic like me. I hung up and checked my messages. Nothing from Cara, not even a text. 3 weeks had passed since our last real conversation. 3 weeks of cold shoulders, separate bedrooms, and Cara's mysterious gym sessions that seemed to happen at the strangest hours. At this point, even our thermostat had more heat than our marriage. I finished my coffee and headed to Harper's Auto Repair, the shop I'd inherited from my old man. At least there, people appreciated what I could do with my hands. Ray Martinez, my best friend since high school, was already there, sorting through invoices. "Happy birthday, you miserable bastard," Ray said, tossing me a beer. "Cara throw you a surprise party yet?" "Yeah, she surprised me by pretending I don't exist." Ray's face darkened. "Man, that's cold, even for her." I popped the beer and took a long drink. "You know what they say about birthdays after 35. They're just practice runs for your funeral." The day dragged on like a broken transmission. I fixed a transmission on a Ford pickup, replaced brake pads on a Honda Civic, and listened to Mrs. Fisher from down the street gossip about the new gym manager who'd been making house calls around the neighborhood. "That Trey Miller boy," she said, her voice dripping with disapproval. "All muscles and no morals. I've seen his car parked on Maple Street more nights than I care to count." Maple Street. That was our street. When I got home that evening, Cara was in the kitchen, her back to me, phone pressed to her ear. She was laughing at something, the kind of laugh she used to save for me. "I have to go," she said quickly when she saw me. "We'll continue this tomorrow." "Continue what?" I asked. "Work stuff. You wouldn't understand." She brushed past me, her perfume trailing behind her like evidence. It wasn't the perfume I'd bought her for Christmas. This was something new, something expensive, something that smelled like betrayal. Later that night, while doing laundry, I found a hotel receipt tucked in the pocket of her jeans. The Marriott downtown, room 237, 2 nights ago. The receipt showed 2 guests. I sat on the edge of our bed, holding the paper like it might burst into flames. Cara's initials were on it, along with another name I recognized, Trey Miller. "Guess I'm not the only one getting their oil changed," I whispered to the empty room. 2 days later, I waited until midnight to confront her. Cara came home late, as usual, her cheeks flushed and her hair slightly mussed, despite her attempts to fix it in the car. "Next time you're going to celebrate my birthday with Trey, at least bring home cake," I said from the kitchen doorway. She froze, her keys halfway to the counter. "What are you talking about?" I held up the hotel receipt. "The Marriott has excellent room service, I hear. Did you order champagne?" Her face cycled through surprise, guilt, and finally anger. "You went through my clothes?" "I was doing laundry. Something you haven't done in months." I stepped closer, keeping my voice level. "How long, Cara?" "It's not what you think." "Really?" "Because I think my wife is screwing the neighborhood gym rat while I'm working 60-hour weeks to pay for the house she's cheating in." She sat down heavily at the kitchen table, her mask finally slipping. "You don't understand, Nick. You never understand. I'm suffocating here. I'm 34 years old, and I feel like I'm already dead. So you decided to resurrect yourself on Trey Miller's dick? Don't be crude. Crude? You want to see crude? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Try coming home to an empty house on your birthday because your wife is too busy playing hide the salami with Captain America. Cara's eyes flashed. Maybe if you paid attention to me instead of those damn cars, I wouldn't need to find companionship elsewhere. Companionship. Is that what we're calling it now? She stood up, straightening her shoulders like she was preparing for battle. I want an open marriage, Nick, for my mental health. Amanda says it's perfectly normal for couples our age to explore other relationships. Amanda. Of course. Cara's best friend, the woman who'd been divorced 3 times and treated relationships like a revolving door. If self-discovery means screwing Trey, I said quietly, then you're about to discover just how creative I can get. The next morning, Cara moved into the spare bedroom. By afternoon, Trey Miller's black Camaro was parked in my driveway like a middle finger pointed directly at my front door. I watched from the kitchen window as he strutted up to my house, all swagger and steroids, his gym bag slung over his shoulder like he owned the place. When Cara opened the door, he kissed her right there on my front porch, his hands roaming over her like she was equipment at his gym. That evening, I drove to Murphy's bar, where Ray was working his usual shift. You look like someone shot your dog, Ray said, sliding a whiskey across the bar. Worse. Someone screwing my wife. I told him everything. The hotel receipt, the confrontation, Trey's victory lap in my driveway. Ray listened without interruption, occasionally refilling my glass. Don't get mad, he said finally. Get even. But make it something she'll never see coming. Like what? You're the smartest guy I know, Nick. You can rebuild an engine from scratch. Surely you can figure out how to rebuild your life without her in it. I was walking to my car when I heard the sound of metal scraping against metal. In the parking lot, Trey Miller was dragging his keys along the side of my Mustang, the classic '69 I'd restored with my own hands. Marking my territory, he slurred, clearly drunk. This whole neighborhood belongs to me now. Something cold and sharp settled in my chest, like a blade made of ice. I watched him stumble to his Camaro and drive away, weaving slightly as he turned the corner. That's when I knew. I wasn't going to get mad. I was going to get surgical. For the next 2 weeks, I became a detective. I studied Trey Miller like a blueprint, learning every detail of his pathetic life. I started going to Murphy's bar every night, not to drink away my sorrows, but to gather intelligence from the regulars who knew everyone's business. Trey's got a sweet deal going, said Bobby Chen, a construction worker who'd been coming to Murphy's for 15 years. Sells steroids to half the guys at the gym, charges premium prices because he promises discretion. That's not all, added Jennifer Walsh, a nurse who lived 2 blocks from the gym. He's engaged to some rich widow from the East Side. Margaret something. Tells her he's a fitness entrepreneur looking for investors. I nearly choked on my beer. He's engaged? Has been for 6 months, Jennifer confirmed. Poor woman thinks she's found her younger man. Doesn't know he's sampling the entire neighborhood. The next day, I followed Trey to his gym, Iron Paradise, a converted warehouse that smelled like sweat and desperation. I signed up for a membership and spent an hour on the treadmill, listening to conversations and taking mental notes. Trey held court near the free weights, dispensing advice and small plastic bags to select clients. I watched him pocket cash, saw him write phone numbers on gym towels, witnessed him operate like a king in his pathetic little kingdom. New member? He asked, approaching me with that cocky smile. Just trying to get in shape, I replied. My wife says I need to work on my physique. Smart woman. I could help you with that. I offer private training sessions. Very private. Very effective. What kind of effectiveness are we talking about? He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. The kind that gives you energy, focus, and the body women can't resist. Interested? I pretended to consider it. How much? Depends on how serious you are about transformation. But I guarantee results. Discretion guaranteed, too. I had him. That weekend was the annual Maple Street Block Party, an event Cara's mother had been planning for months. The entire neighborhood would be there, including Cara's family, Amanda, and most of the people who'd been watching our marriage implode with voyeuristic fascination. I spent Friday night preparing, not for revenge, for justice. Saturday afternoon, I loaded my truck with folding chairs and a cooler full of Gatorade, playing the role of helpful husband. Cara barely acknowledged me, too busy whispering with Amanda about her new relationship dynamics. The party was in full swing when I made my move. I'd set up a small speaker system near the food tables, ostensibly for background music. What people didn't know was that I'd connected it to my phone, which contained a recording I'd made during my last visit to Iron Paradise. Trey arrived fashionably late, his arm around Cara like she was a trophy. He worked the crowd with practiced charm, shaking hands and flexing subtly for the women. Margaret, his wealthy fiancée, wasn't there. He'd told her he was working. I waited until the crowd was at its largest, then activated my phone. "I'll pump you up, but discretion is guaranteed," Trey's voice boomed from the speakers. "These aren't your average supplements. This is the real deal, pharmaceutical grade, the kind that turns boys into men and men into gods." The crowd fell silent. All eyes turned to Trey, whose face had gone white. "The payment is simple," the recording continued. "Cash only. And if anyone asks, you've never seen me before in your life. I've got clients from the police department to the mayor's office. Everyone wants an edge." I stood up, holding my phone like a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet the real Trey Miller, steroid dealer, con artist, and the man who's been giving my wife very personal training sessions." Chaos erupted. Cara lunged for my phone, but I'd already uploaded the recording to the neighborhood Facebook group. Amanda tried to defend her, but her own boyfriend was staring at her with disgust. Trey, drunk on his own arrogance, decided to fight back. He charged toward me, his fists raised like he was still in high school. I sidestepped him easily, grabbed the cooler of Gatorade, and dumped the entire contents over his head. The icy liquid soaked through his expensive clothes and ruined his gold watch, the one he'd bought with Margaret's money. "Oops," I said to the crowd. "Looks like Trey needs to cool off." Someone had started recording with their phone. Within an hour, the video of Trey dripping with sports drink and humiliation had gone viral in our neighborhood. The comments were brutal. "Sweaty Trey gets a shower," and "Is this part of his training program?" Cara's mother fainted. Amanda disappeared, and Trey Miller's kingdom crumbled in real time. By Monday morning, Trey's life was in free fall. Margaret's lawyer had served him with a restraining order after seeing the video and learning about his steroid operation. Iron Paradise fired him when 3 clients came forward about his illegal sales. The police were investigating his pharmaceutical connections, but I wasn't done. I parked my Mustang outside Trey's apartment complex, a hidden dash cam recording everything. Sure enough, he showed up Tuesday night, drunk and furious, and took a baseball bat to my car. 20 minutes of footage showing him destroying my property while screaming about "that bastard mechanic." I uploaded the video to Margaret's legal team, the police, and the neighborhood Facebook group. The comments section became a tribunal. Trey the Terrible strikes again, and someone needs anger management classes. Meanwhile, Cara's world was collapsing too. Amanda, desperate to save her own reputation, had started spreading rumors about Cara's open marriage philosophy at their workplace. By Wednesday, Cara's HR department was buzzing with gossip about their colleagues' unconventional lifestyle choices. "HR says open marriages boost morale," became the office meme, according to Jennifer Walsh, who worked in the same building. Thursday afternoon, Cara stormed into my garage, her face red with fury and humiliation. "You destroyed my life," she screamed, loud enough for my coworkers to hear. "I didn't destroy anything," I replied calmly, wiping grease from my hands. I just turned on the lights so everyone could see what was already there. That video was private. Nothing's private when you're screwing around in public, sweetheart. She raised her hand to slap me, but I caught her wrist. Careful, Cara. There are witnesses here. Wouldn't want to add assault to your growing list of accomplishments. She jerked away from me, tears streaming down her face. I hate you. Good. Hate's honest. It's the first honest thing you've said to me in months. She fled, leaving behind only the echo of slamming doors and my co-workers' stunned silence. Friday, I received a letter from Cara's lawyer. She was filing for divorce and demanding half of everything: the house, the shop, my savings, even my restored Mustang. I read the letter twice, then started laughing. My co-workers thought I'd finally snapped. But I hadn't snapped. I'd planned. Saturday night, I called Cara with a peace offering. I want to make this right, I told her. Let me throw you a birthday dinner, a real celebration, at Romano's downtown. Invite your family, invite Amanda. Let's end this like adults. She was suspicious, but her vanity won out. The idea of a public reconciliation, of being the center of attention at the city's most expensive restaurant, was too tempting to resist. Fine, she said, but this doesn't change anything between us. Of course not. Romano's was packed Saturday night. I'd reserved the private dining room and invited everyone: Cara's parents, her sister, Amanda, and her boyfriend, even a few neighbors. What Cara didn't know was that I'd also invited Margaret's lawyer, a process server, and a court stenographer. The evening started pleasantly enough. Wine flowed, appetizers were served, and Cara basked in the attention. She'd dressed for the occasion in a red dress that probably cost more than I made in a week. When the main courses arrived, I stood up with my wine glass. I'd like to make a toast, I announced. To my wife, Cara, who taught me so much about celebrating birthdays. The room fell silent, everyone raising their glasses. 3 weeks ago, Cara forgot my birthday completely. She was too busy celebrating with Trey Miller at the Marriott Hotel. Room 237 to be specific. Cara's face went white. Nick, don't. She taught me that marriage is about sharing, I continued. Sharing your bed with steroid dealers. Sharing your secrets with gossipy friends who betray you the moment things get complicated. Sharing your husband's humiliation with the entire neighborhood. Linda Wallace stood up abruptly, knocking over her wine glass. This is inappropriate. You're right, Linda. Adultery is very inappropriate. But education is important, so let me share some more lessons. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the restaurant's sound system. Trey's recorded voice filled the room, describing his steroid operation in graphic detail. Then came the security footage of him vandalizing my car, his face clearly visible in the streetlight. Cara also taught me about friendship, I said, looking directly at Amanda. How friends will throw you under the bus to save themselves. Amanda here started the rumors at Cara's workplace about open marriages and unconventional lifestyles. Amanda's boyfriend turned to stare at her. You told me you barely knew about any of this. The process server stepped forward and handed Trey, who'd been hiding in the bar area, a restraining order. The court stenographer began taking notes as Margaret's lawyer read a list of charges being filed against him. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. Oh, and Cara, I said, pulling out a folder of documents. About that divorce settlement. You remember the house we bought together? The one you want half of? She nodded, still too shocked to speak. Funny thing about that house. 6 months ago, when I suspected you were cheating, I had it appraised. Then I quietly bought out your half with money from my inheritance. Money I never told you about. The house is entirely mine now, legally. Completely. I spread the documents on the table, the appraisal, the buyout paperwork, the deed transfer, all properly notarized and filed with the county. You see, Cara, while you were learning about open marriages, I was learning about asset protection. Turns out I'm pretty good at it. The room erupted. Cara's mother collapsed into her chair, hyperventilating. Amanda's boyfriend stormed out, leaving her sobbing at the table. Trey was being escorted away by security while the lawyer explained his legal troubles. And Cara just sat there, staring at the documents that proved she'd lost everything. "Happy birthday to me," I said, raising my glass to the chaos around me. I walked out of Romano's into the cool night air, leaving behind the wreckage of my old life. My phone buzzed, a text from Ray. "How'd it go?" I climbed into my Mustang, the engine purring like a contented cat. "Drinks on me," I texted back. "Turns out, I'm worth celebrating after all." As I drove through the city streets, windows down and radio up, I realized something profound. Revenge wasn't about getting even. It was about getting free. 3 months later, Cara was working at a call center, living in a studio apartment, and dating a different gym trainer who probably treated her exactly like she deserved. Trey was facing federal charges for steroid distribution and had lost everything, including Margaret's money. Amanda had been fired from her job and was seeing a therapist about her boundary issues. And me? I was running my shop, dating a nurse named Sarah who appreciated both my sense of humor and my mechanical skills, and sleeping better than I had in years. Some people say revenge is a dish best served cold. I disagree. Revenge is best served publicly, legally, and with perfect timing, because sometimes the best birthday present you can give yourself is the complete destruction of everyone who tried to destroy you.